I'm Tyler, and today I'm going to do a little bit of a different video. We're going to do steaks, a typical grilling item, and I'm going to talk about how I do steaks on my Kamado Joe Jr. It all starts with getting your steaks prepared. So, I've got myself a couple slices of delicious picanha here. I don't remember what the American name is for this, but you can watch Guga Foods videos, and he talks a lot about picanha. And he talks, he has a lot of opinions about it being the best steak there is, the best cut. But what I wanted to do was talk about how I do all the meat that I cook, with the exception of pre-packaged stuff like the pork wieners that I showed in the last video. So what I do with all my meat, whether it's chicken, steak, pork, whatever it is, first I will dry it off completely with a paper towel. And once you make sure it's real dry, you want to get it as dry as possible, really, because if you don't, then when you go to cook it, it's going to be really wet. You also don't want it to be frozen at all when you start doing this. If it's frozen at all, it's going to come out kind of wet in the grill. This is just what I've found through doing my own cooking. So what I do is I dry it off. Sometimes this particular steak, I've dried it off twice now. This is the second time I dry it. I bought a big slab of these about that long, and I cut them in half, and then I froze half and cooked half. So this is the half that was frozen. And you can freeze meat one time and thaw it out with no ramifications. I've just had that experience, and I've watched a lot of videos on it and stuff. So what I've found is that meat is good frozen one time, whether it's chicken or turkey or whatever. As soon as you buy it, if you want to freeze it, immediately put it in the freezer. Don't let it sit in your fridge for 3 days. Freeze it and get it out when you're ready. So this is ready to cook. I've had it in the freezer for about a month or two, and I'm hungry for steak today. So I thawed it out. I let it sit in the fridge a couple days. I think one night, overnight, about 15 hours. And when I got it out, it was thawed. I dried it off with some paper towels, which I didn't show. Put it back in the fridge and let it sit for an hour because I had to do something. Brought it back out, and now I'm drying it a second time. Now that I've dried it a second time, I'm going to implement a technique called dry brining. Dry brining is simply putting some salt on your meat. And once you put the salt on it, you let it sit in the fridge for a couple hours. Depending on the size of the thing you're cooking, will depend on the time. So these two little pieces of steak, I'll probably let them sit in there 2 hours, an hour and a half or something like that. It's not as important for small pieces. When you start getting bigger things like a big bird, a chicken, I would probably let a chicken sit with just salt on it for uncovered and on a cooling rack like this, where you have a rack, an oven rack over top of a pan. You want a drip pan because it will drip. So get yourself an oven rack or something and put it on top of this pan, and let it sit. A chicken, let something like the size of a chicken sit in the fridge with just salt on it for maybe 10 hours, 12 hours, something like that. So, and that's the case for all meat. Whatever I cook that's meat, I put it in the fridge and I let it dry brine. That helps to dry it out, get the water out of it. It doesn't take the fat out. The fat's the good moisture. The water tends to not be as good, specifically in steak. You don't want a wet, sloppy steak. If you want it to be tender and having fat in there, you'll tell the difference between the fat and the water. At least I can. So I'm going to sprinkle the salt on this just like I do all the meat that I cook. And a lot of people say to use fancy salt. I don't remember. What kind of salt do they say to use, Chris? That I'm
they always talk about kosher.
Kosher salt?
Yeah.
Yeah, they talk a lot about kosher salt. I have no clue what the difference is. This is just iodized table salt, I think.
Yeah.
Morton's. Oh, this salt does not supply iodide. So I don't have any idea what they're talking about. I just use this salt. It works fine. There might be, if somebody out there knows more about it, please comment on it to tell me why you should use kosher salt, but I haven't ever found out why. I try and salt all of it. For picanha, I probably don't really need to put any salt on the fat part. but I'm going to go ahead and salt it anyway. Why not? I'm already doing the rest, and salt's cheap, so there we go. So I'll just lightly salt it, and I put just about, I'll probably put a little more on it if it was a thicker, something thicker, like a pulled, like I was going to make a pulled pork or something, or brisket, or some bigger piece of meat. You might season it a little heavier. But with these small steaks, or if I was doing burgers, I would dry brine the burger about the same amount of salt, just a little layer of salt on the top. So I'm going to put these in the fridge, and I'll show you the next step once these have sat in there for a couple hours. Alright, so I'm out here getting my grill going. I'm going to get the grill started and let it...
My grill is going too. But I need to wipe this food off of it.
Yep. So I'm going to get this grill started, and then I'm going to go back in and season up the steak here in a little bit. And I'm doing the same thing I did last time, just a little bit of coals, getting kind of warm in there. And before it melts the plastic on the handle, I'm going to go ahead and dump this out. You want to watch the back of your charcoal chimney when you dump it, because sometimes little pieces will stick in there, or the fire usually when you dump it over will come out of the back of the charcoal chimney too. So I'm going to do the same thing I did last time in the last video, and just let this come up to temperature with the whole grilling grates on there, and then I'm going to do a reverse sear on the steak, which means I'm going to smoke the steak first, and then I'm going to sear it off to finish. Smoke it about 225. So again, I'll put all the grates on there right now, and put all the grates on. If you want to watch how I do that in more detail, you can check my the pork wiener video. I talk a little more about that. So I'm in here. I'm going to put some seasoning on our steak and get it ready for the grill.
Some pepper.
Yep, a little bit of pepper. We just kind of keep it, we don't go real thick on the seasoning with the steak, because we want to taste the meat and stuff. So I'm going to season the pepper on both parts of the steak here. I guess I'll put a little on the fat. I keep forgetting that. Like I said, I don't think the fat really matters, but for this particular cut anyway. But no big deal. So there, pepper's on. A little bit of garlic powder on. That came out a little faster than I intended. Oh well, it's okay. And a little bit on this one too. Do all the sides. And remember, it's already salted because I dry brined it. So now it's got salt. Good job. Alright, so I'm back out here. I got cut off because I was trying to take care of my kids, but the steaks have just got salt, pepper, and garlic powder on them. And let's see, the grill is kind of hotter than I meant for it to be. I left my grill going, and I went out and did some stuff and came back, and it was like well, you can see it's like almost 300 degrees. It's a little over 250, so I was really hoping to keep it around 200, to be honest, but I left the grill the top vent too high, too open. I closed it off a little since I got home, but I hooked up my flame boss because I want to monitor the temperature of the steak. You can do this with a traditional meat probe, just a traditional probe, but I don't like having to keep lifting the lid on my Kamado Joe while I'm trying to smoke, so I'm going to use the probe that comes with the flame boss to tell me when my meat's done. And so I'll put that probe in, and I thought this was a good demonstration of the flame boss too, but this probe will go on the grilling grate. So I'm going to just open this up now and get this ready. So I'll put this right there, or on the grilling grate. You want to make sure you put it over your heat deflector. So that should be a good spot. And then I'll take the meat and I'll put it on right next to that. I'm actually going to put the probe in real quick. So I'll put that probe down in the meat. Not like that. You want it to be decently far down in there. And then I'll take my steak here and put it above just on the grill grate, just like that, nice and cozy in there. And let me take my glove off here. And now the flame boss is going to do its job. I just want to leave a little sliver open, and it's going to maintain the temperature. So I'll show what the flame boss does here. It hooks in to the bottom. Right now it's not turned on, but it hooks into the bottom like that. You get all these little adapters that come with it. There's all these little adapters. I had to actually cut part of the adapter with tin snips to make it fit in my Kamado Joes, but once I made it fit in the small one, the same adapter works in the big grill too, the Kamado Joe standard. So, or classic, I guess. So anyway, I got the adapter in there. I set my flame boss up, and I'm getting ready to plug it all up and turn it on, and the fan will start blowing. So I'll plug it in, and we'll see what temperature the flame boss reads. Alright, so I'm back here on my flame boss, and this is the app. I'm just setting the temperature. I plugged it in, it still had the temperature from my last recording, which I don't really like that. I wish it would reset every time, but anyway, it's plugged in. Sometimes it does this to me. It'll say that it's offline when it's not. It's still online. But anyway, it says it's offline, but it's not. So I set the temperature, and we'll see if it updates it. So I usually end up using the web app. So I'll see if I can go on the web app, but this system works really well. It's just sometimes it'll do this. I'm not sure. Oh, there you go. See? So it said that it had a problem setting it, but you can see it did actually set it correctly. These are really good controllers. It has that little issue sometimes, but that's about the only thing wrong that I've ever found. The fan down here, the blower fan, will occasionally make a little noise. I'm not worried about that because I have a year. This comes with a year warranty, a 1-year warranty. So if something's wrong with the fan, if it goes out or something in a year, then I'll get it fixed. But it's been doing that since day one. So if it doesn't go out, then there's probably nothing wrong with it. And if it does go out, I'll just call up Flame Boss and get a new one. So let's see. My meat's internal temperature is 45 degrees. We want to set an alarm to notify me whenever it's 120 degrees, I'd say. We'll say 117. So when the meat reaches 117 degrees, this thing is going to go off, and it's going to notify me. And then what I'll do is I'll take the meat off the grill, and I'll sear it. I'll get my grill really, really hot, and I'll sear the meat. So that should be pretty good. Now, let's give it some time, and I'll come back when it's ready to go. Okay, so we're out here. The flame boss went off. The food is at 117 internally. So I'm going to burp it, and we come on in here and take a look. So it's got some fat coming out there. Looks pretty good. So we're going to pull these off, and what I'm going to do next is get the grill really hot. Really, really hot. And then I'll sear these steaks off. So they look really good. Can't wait. I'll put on my grilling gloves. I didn't spend much time talking about the technique of smoking in this because I already covered it in the last couple videos I did. And I didn't talk about much with regards to the different components of the Kamado Joe Jr. because I did that in the first video. So, let's put So if you just got a Kamado and you are trying to learn how to do it, you can check my other videos for information on that. Just kind of, there's still plenty of coal in there. Make this thing a hot fire. I'm going to take this plate off. I'm going to set it up high so the kids don't touch it, and just let it cool off up there. And the grilling grate I'm going to put right back on. What I'm going to do now is just let this get really hot. So the Flame Boss did its job. It kept the grill at 250 the whole time. It did a great job. And it notified me. It sent me a text, and then the app actually notified my phone whenever it was ready. So I got two different. There's a redundant system of warnings and notifications that let you know. I keep scooting closer because the wind is going to blow. And anyway, there's a redundant system of warnings and labels that go off to let you know when your food is ready. So I've got that grate. I've got the bottom vent wide open, and I've got the top vent. Well, right now it's open, but I'll put the thing down and open the top vent all the way so the grill can get really hot, and then I'll put the steak on and reverse sear it. And that's a great segue into why I like these grills. I didn't talk much about it in the first video I did, but these are great because they can do everything. So they can do low and slow like I just showed with the steak, and then I'm going to show how they can grill. So directly over the coal that's going to be hot, and it's going to be really good. So I can't wait. Back, these have been on for about a minute, and the grill has gotten really hot since then. Oh boy, I might have burnt that side, but we'll see. So I'm just going to leave them on there for about, I'm not going to leave them on that long this time. And that is hot. Wow. And you can see the fire shooting up out of there. I think I'm going to choke off the bottom vent a little bit. And maybe the top vent too. You always want to handle these with a set of tongs or something if you can, because they're going to be hot. Hopefully I didn't burn the steak up, but you know, that's part of cooking, is trial and error and trying stuff out, and sometimes you mess stuff up, don't you, Chris?
Yep.
But we'll see. We're going to let these go. I'm not going to panic yet. You never want to panic before you've tasted it. Right, honey?
That's right.
Because sometimes I start to panic. I'm like, oh no, I messed something up. I messed up this. I think these are about $10 worth of steak. But then you try it, and you can actually salvage some of it. You know, I might be able to cut off that part that's all burnt up on the steak, and I might be able to eat it. So we'll see how it goes. All right, so I've given it another 15 or 20 seconds, and I'm going to go ahead and take them off, because I don't want to do anything to these that is beyond what's already been done. Oh, it's kind of sticking. That's unusual, but that's okay. Oh, got some pops. Ow! All right.
Don't grill in sandals, apparently.
Yeah, got my leg there. So I'm going to just use these tongs to scrape off the part of the steak that's stuck. This is a really good time to try and get your grill grate clean a little bit. I would not use the plastic.
Daddy, will you put
hold on.
your shoe back on?
I will put your shoe on, yes. I would not suggest using the plastic grill scraper when the grill is this hot. It'll probably melt the plastic. So when it's this hot, which mine rarely gets this hot because I generally will smoke everything pretty much, but when it is this hot, don't use plastic on it, or it's going to melt the plastic. So I've closed all my grates, my vents off, and you can take a look at that burnt up steak.
Yeah,
it's
that one's
pretty
a little
burnt. This one over here looks fine. But yeah, you know, if I have to eat around the outside, then I'll eat around it. I think it should be okay to eat. So, like I said, you can't win every time, and cooking is trial and error. And these charcoal grills are a little tougher than what you'd get with a gas grill. But if you do it right, it's worth it. So we'll go inside and we'll give it a try. Let these. All right, we've had a few minutes to rest. My wife's getting kind of impatient, so we're going to go ahead and eat it. Isn't that right? This is the one that's kind of burnt up, and you know, we're gonna just cut it open and see what's in there. So, oh, that is nice. Isn't that nice? Wow, look at that. That's like a little treat. I just opened Christmas present right there. So we're gonna try that out. Let's see what it tastes like here. Like it's I think it looks a little burnt, but we'll give it a shot. It's good. It's good. The outside is a little burnt, but it's pretty good. So it's definitely not ruined.
You cannot bring that home.
Okay,
Don't bring it
I'm
home.
gonna not cut this other one. I'm gonna let that one rest because we have enough here, I think, for the two of us.
thank you.
And so that's how you smoke and then sear off a steak on the grill. We brought it in, we cut it up. We've already started eating because we were pretty hungry. And that is perfectly cooked. It's outstanding. So just because the bottom looks a little burnt on your steak sometimes, or if you think you screwed something up, don't panic because this is really good. Isn't it good?
It's fantastic.
No, that's some corn. Sorry, I was getting ready to start eating. Well, here, I'll take a little bite here. Take a bite out of this. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Eat this big old bite.